Good morning. Today, since we've tied my Halo Isonychia pattern, I'm going to go ahead and tie the spinner pattern, which is going to be a turkey biot bodied spinner using the dark dun trigger point fibers that first tried those a few years ago for spinner imitations on Hendrickson's and whatnot, typical rusty spinners, red quill spinners. Been very effective. I like to tie my spinner patterns on a 2 extra long dry fly hook, a little smaller gap. There's no hackle or anything hanging down in the way of hooking. You don't need quite the standard big gap of a size 10 when you get into that size fly. It's a little finer wire, and the weight spread out over a little more length, balanced by the wings and the tails. We'll be using the claret unithread again, 6/0 unithread, and we'll start that. We'll be using microfibettes, light gray microfibettes for the tail. The spinners generally are medium gray on the Isonychia. We'll take the thread back till if you hang it, it's right opposite the point of the hook. That'll be our tying point from our tails. And there I'll make 3 or 4 wraps to make a little bump of thread to anchor those tail fibers for the split type tails. And with the microfibettes on a size 10 fly like this, I will usually use about 5 microfibette fibers for the tail on this fly. Usually satisfied that that's going to give us enough support for a fly of this size and still be fairly delicate, as the spinner's tails tend to be. Measure the tail against the hook. Particularly on a spinner, I like to have the tails the full length of the hook. Tie that in against that bump. We're basically using a pinch wrap technique from the side. There we go, with 5 fibers for the other side of the tail. Measure that one, pinch it, and tie it in tight against the bump on the other side. So there's our split tails. We want to build a nice underbody for the biot, so we'll wrap over the butts of those tailing fibers. Nice smooth even wraps, one in front of the other, up to the point where our wings are going to be tied in. We can pick them up, cut them off, and run our thread back to the beginning. Pick off one biot fiber, and if you look closely at a biot fiber, when you pull it off, if you cut it, you'll cut the notch off, but if you pull it off, there's a little bit of a semicircular notch on one side of it. The side that's on is the finer leading edge of the fiber, and that's the one we want to be trailing in this case, so it ties down and you get the nice smooth body. If you flip it the other way, you'll get little fibers that'll stand up as you make the revolutions, and you'll have very pronounced segmentation. If I'm tying an emerger with a biot body, which I do fairly often, I like to have that extra segmentation here, a little rougher looking fly, because an emerger or a cripple is basically a rough fly, a fly that's not fully emerged, fully formed. We'll take the hackle pliers. Wrap that Biot body. Ah, this one's turned on me. Sometimes they will do that when you tie them in. That Biot was a little deformed, a little bent. I'm going to pull another one off. Sure we've got that good. Trailing edge. And we'll just redo that. Tie over that tip. Again, nice and smooth. Forming part of that underbody. Another pair of hackle pliers seems to have disappeared. When you tie for a lot of years, you'll collect a lot of pairs of hackle pliers and small tools like that. And then we wrap our Biot. You'll see the dark leading edge will give you the color variation and create the segmentation subtly. Very pretty segment and body with the turkey Biots. Goose Biots will do the same thing, it's just they're much smaller and you can't get a size 10 fly out of a goose Biot. But the turkey Biots are much larger, much longer, and you can. Pull the thread back out of the way, cut that off, and we'll tie that, down securely. Again, we're using the dark dun trigger point fibers. And for the spinner wings, you want those to be fairly sparse. You won't get the best look at it until you have the finished fly and the wings tied in and trimmed to shape. So you can estimate a little heavy. You can always trim some fibers off if the wings are more full than you actually want them when you get to that point. But you can't take them, you can't put them back on. So better to have a wing a little fuller and you can trim it back. And then we'll figure eight. We're going over, under the hook, over, under the hook, back and forth to figure eight that wing in. And then I'm going to post each wing. I'm going to take 2 wraps of thread right around the base of the wing, and then 1 wrap, don't pull too tight, 1 wrap around the hook shank. Shorten that thread and then we'll do it on the far wing, same thing. There's 1 wrap, 2 wraps to post those fibers, and there's our wing. Turn this, a little bit of angle on my scissors and cut it to length. I like to cut both of them at once, it's easier to get them even that way. And then we're going to take a little bit of Wonder Wax on our thread, and we're using beaver dubbing here in a claret Isonychia color, same as our Biot and our thread, so it's all going to make a nice dark reddish brown or claret colored fly. It's a good imitation of the natural. That should get us there. couple wraps there in the front of the wing till we get to dubbing on the thread. Then we're going to go underneath the two wings, then back over the top, go down, come around the hook in front, go under, over and under again, finish that thorax behind. You'll come in, we'll finish in the front, make a nice thread head to transition to that tapered end of the body, and whip finish. Clip off our thread. Now we can pull our wings to shape, and you'll see we got nice sparse wing there, enough for visibility, enough to give a good silhouette on the water, and yet not too heavy. So there's our Isonychia spinner, the Biot spinner with the Enrico Puglisi trigger point fibers in dark dun. One of my favorite materials for spinner wings for most of our dark spinners.